Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this special show on Al24 News, where we will review together the most important events that happened this year. Coming up next. Ranging from political tensions worldwide, the spread of Omicron, to people who left us and those who have marked us this year. Still, we will review some movies and cultural events that kept us entertained during a year that has witnessed lockdown restrictions. All of this along with an amazing team of journalists and special in-studio and via Skype guests right after this break. The year 2021 was not that bad, as the past 12 months brought good and some news as well. In fact, the world has witnessed major events that we cannot skip. And to know more about these main stories, let's follow this special report by Ayadi Usama and Hassan Barkan.
On January, American President Joe Biden reached the top position in the American government as the 46th President of the United States.
On February 1st, Myanmar's military orchestrated a coup, arresting civilian government leaders in the early morning hours.
On March, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle dropped bombshell accusations against the Buckingham Palace in a tell-all interview with Oprah.
April 17th marked an important day in Great Britain as the Duke of Edinburgh, the husband of Queen Elizabeth II and Patriarch of the House of Windsor, died at age 99.
In May, French President Emmanuel Macron recognized his country's role in Rwandan genocide and hoped for forgiveness.
In June, the U.S. white ex-police officer convicted of murdering African-American man George Floyd in Minneapolis in May 2020 has been sentenced to 22 years and 6 months in jail.
On July, New Shepard Blue Origins lifted off from the company's launch site 1 near Van Horn, Texas.
In August, Taliban returned in power, celebrating victory after U.S. troops withdraw from Afghanistan, ending America's longest war.
In September, the AUKUS deal started. President Joe Biden, Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison, and British Prime Minister Boris Johnson jointly announced a new trilateral security partnership named AUKUS.
President Joe Biden affirmed that the U.S. would defend Taiwan if China attacked, and an apparent departure from a long-held U.S. foreign policy position.
In November, thousands of migrants camp out in freezing temperature on Belarus border with Poland, seeking to cross into the European Union.
Rise of tensions between Russia and the West after Russia amassed tens of thousands of soldiers and military arsenal near Ukraine's borders.
And to discuss these major events, I am joined here in our studios by Farid Ben Yahya, economic and international politics expert, in addition to my guest from the USA, Associate Dean Hamoud Salhi. I am going to start with you, Farid, in the beginning, as we have just followed in our report. A whole year has passed since Joe Biden has taken office in America as a new president, and once he started taking office, he found himself face to face with the Omicron lately and COVID-19 in general. He has tried in this year to impose restrictions again and make the vaccination available for Americans. Do you think that this step has helped Joe Biden to gain the trust of Americans?
Yes, the 46th President of the United States of America, Joe Biden, is supported by two Presidents, Obama and Bill Clinton. At the moment, with the propagation of the COVID-19, it's the great pandemic in the world. The United States have a great problems, economic and health pandemic problem. And I think he take a new proposition with national health agencies in the United States to make vaccination to all the people. but there is supported by the finance of the United States. And I think this is a new step for President Joe Biden. I hope too, this is the end of the pandemic in Omicron. I think this is a virus, but not very strong. I think Delta. This is not very stronger. I think it's new policies in the health of United States, and he take the new decision to vaccination and to make safety the people of his country.
Cool. Let's bring into our conversation my guest from the USA, Hamoud Salhi. And as we have followed in our report a bit earlier, the Ukrainian and Russian issue has dominated the news headlines, and we were all worried about waking up the next morning to see a war has broken out. Are we likely, Hamoud, to see a more de-escalation or more tensions in the new year?
Well, thank you for having me, and a pleasure meeting Farid in the studio. I think the war, a possibility of war, is always a consideration. There is the element of surprise. What we are seeing, and most likely will continue in 2022, is a move towards what we call strategic denial, meaning that both parties, this is the Western world led by the United States and Russia, are looking for ways of how to get their best interests, their interests served best. At issue is Russia's demand, and demand is a very strong word here, but this is what's happened, to get security guarantees that the expansion of NATO will not affect its national interest. Now, the response that we have seen, and which we are likely to see more in 2022, is that we are going to continue having a discussion, negotiation. This is seen by the latest declaration by President Biden and also President Putin. Both parties are looking for to resolve this peacefully, diplomatically, because the stakes are very, very high. Now, what we need to watch for are three things. From the EU perspective, the EU has launched a series of threats that it will move to impose sanctions. Once the EU move with a sanction, that will be a first sign. The second sign is related to how NATO will approach this. Will NATO deny, as the Russians have demanded, Ukraine's acceptance into its NATO? And the last party that we look at is the United States. United States has been very, very careful in playing both the public relation game and also being pragmatic. What we need to look at and to see how 2022 will proceed, will the United States proceed with providing military assistance to Ukraine. That will be a big factor. The second thing is the economic sanctions.
All right. So let's go back to you, Farid, and here Hamoud Salhi is going to confirm this, as we have dealt a lot with the nuclear deal in our news editions with his analysis. And here, still 2021 is wrapping up. However, no exact deal has been reached so far, and taken into consideration the talks are still ongoing in the Austrian capital, Vienna. Do you think that both sides here, talking about the USA and Iran, are ready to take, let's say, difficult decisions if an agreement is to be reached?
I think it's very hard negotiation between European and American and Iranian diplomats. I think too, Iran, Islamic Iran Republic, has all the naked technology to build weapons, nuclear weapons, and European and American knows that. And I think at the moment they need to make a new treatment agreement for this country to stop there. But I think it depends about the Russia and China country to support Iran in this negotiation, because the negotiation has spent between maybe 10 or 12 years. It is a very hard negotiation between European and United States and Iran. I hope they found defining next time a new decision for peace in this region, because this region, there is Israel with nuclear weapons. You find Pakistan, in Asia, Russia, China, North Korea, India, and at the moment maybe Iran. And the next time we don't know which country
Indeed.
they can make it and technology and to build a weapon, nuclear. I think this a new policy in the world with United Nations. They must stop these courses,
maybe
this race for weapons, nuclear in the future.
Since the talks are still ongoing in the next year, 2022, we might reveal a lot.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
So now let's move on to go for a quick break and come back for more. Now, neighboring countries of Algeria have witnessed remarkable events as well this year. More on this in this presentation by Islam Sid.
Thank you, Nadia. Hello and welcome, dear viewers. So as announced by our host, we delve now into some regional insights for the year 2021 review. We cherry-picked 5 countries. Country number 1 in our list is Libya, and forming a new interim government is actually the major event that happened in Libya as a step to end the political division in the country. In February 2021, Mohamed Yunus Menfi was elected the president of Libya's interim government, and Abdul Hamid Mohamed Dabiba the prime minister in the presidency council. And here, Algeria has played a big role into restoring stability in Libya. The Algerian diplomacy under the leadership of the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, has called for the Libyan parties to build the legitimate and united institutions. And now we move on to another country, that is Egypt, and more specifically to the Suez Canal. Back to March 2021, satellite companies showed pictures of a 400-meter-long container ship blocking the Suez Canal in Egypt. This has a major impact on trade around the globe. The giant container blocked the Suez Canal, which interrupted global trade. Salvage teams were working around the clock to remove the 220-ton ship after being stuck in the canal. The latter is considered as one of the busiest commercial waterways in the world. As the third country in our list is South Africa, experts discovered the first case of Omicron variant. The B11529 variant was first reported to WHO from South Africa on 24th November 2021. As the wide outbreak of this variant hit the country, it has been detected spreading mostly among young individuals. Positive tests were growing rapidly in 3 provinces, including Gauteng, which encompasses Johannesburg and Pretoria, the capital. To another country, Ethiopia has witnessed an intense conflict between the government of Ethiopia and forces in its northern Tigray region, led the country into turmoil. In November 2021, Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed said he would lead his country's army from the battlefront as the year-long conflict moved closer to the capital, Addis Ababa. And last but not least in our list is Morocco. The Makhzen regime signed a security and military cooperation agreement with the Zionist entity in November. Outraged Moroccan people went out into the streets to express their rejection of this decision, considered as a stab in the back of the Palestinian people. The agreement is seen as a step to destabilize the region and undermine Algeria, which defends the right of the Sahrawi and the Palestinian people to independence. Well, that's it for me now. Nadia, back to you.
Thank you, Islam. And well, I have spoken a little bit earlier to Amal Ushnan, researcher in conflict and peace studies from Turkey, who could not join us live tonight. And I have asked her if we are likely to see a breakthrough in war-torn Ethiopia in the coming year. And she had this to say. Let's follow.
Hello, and thank you for having me. Well, looking to the history of conflicts after the Cold War in the African continent, we see that the most important feature of this conflict, which is contagious, and it's spreading over the political borders. And in a multi-ethnic and multi-religious country like Ethiopia, with a big number of population, I think any security deterioration is considered as a big threat for the continent in general, for Horn Africa, and also for the Sahel region, because of 2 reasons. The first one is related to the weak states and very fragile borders. These states are not able to maintain security and to control their borders. Therefore, there is a spread of threats like terrorism and the spread of arms. The second reason, which is very important also in my opinion, is related to a certain ethnic solidarity between the ethnic groups in Africa, because we see that the ethnic map is not correspondent to the political map of the African countries. Thus, it can be said that the continuation of violence in Ethiopia or any collapse of state institution will be very critical for the African countries, especially those like Somalia, like Djibouti, like Eritrea and Sudan. And these weak countries will, from my opinion, face a wave of displaced people and refugees, and also it will face a range of threats and dangers like the mobility of terrorism, armed trafficking, and refugees.
This is when it comes to Ethiopia. And now let me just bring again Hamoud Salhi from the USA. We have seen an open normalization in the relations between Morocco and the Zionist entity. How far are these relations going to destabilize the region, taking into consideration the fact that Algeria is playing a leading role in supporting unstable countries, including Tunisia and Libya?
I think Morocco is moving into a dangerous territory, not in part because of the signal that is sending by expanding its relationship with Israel, but what we've seen from reports inside Morocco that the civil society in Morocco is not going to tolerate this. There is a huge support for the Palestinian cause, and that should be taken into account. The second thing, from a strategic perspective, this is a normalization that will have a big impact on Morocco's ability to sustain its economic growth, which will translate into heavy investment in the military and linking itself with the Zionist organization, a regime also that has been known for denying the Palestinians' rights to live in dignity. So this is a losing cause. Now, counter to that, what we have seen is Algeria being very active and rallying forces around two issues. We've seen this year the huge success the Algerian diplomacy has with putting back the Western Sahara on the map, and on the other thing, the move towards supporting the Palestinian cause and making it a core issue as it should be. Connected to that, the expansion of trade relations with the neighboring countries and playing a constructive role. That will lead automatically to the isolation of the Moroccan regime, which ultimately will have to address not only the regional positions, but also from within its own system.
Cool. And now coming up next right after, then to more about top personalities that have marked their presence this year in different fields, including German Chancellor Angela Merkel, Nobel Peace Prize laureate Abdelrazak Gurna, and Time Magazine Person of the Year Elon Musk. And right after this break, as I have already mentioned, let's follow this special report by Marwa Belawar and Nabil Khazini to the most impressive personalities in 2021.
A warm tribute was paid to Angela Merkel, Germany's departing chancellor after 16 years at the helm. Europe's and the world's most famous and powerful female politician bowed out. Known for her sobriety, her composure, and her quiet strength, the chancellor, warmly called Mother, leaves behind a legacy of cautious leadership.
The Tanzanian-born novelist Abdelrazak Gurna was awarded the 2021 Nobel Prize for Literature. Abdelrazak Gurna is the first author of African descent to win the Nobel Prize in Literature since 2003. He was honored for his stories about the colonial and post-colonial era in East Africa and the torments of refugees caught between two worlds.
David Julius and Artem Pitapushkin, two researchers received the Frontiers Award for discovering new families of sensors that enable us to perceive temperature, pain, and pressure. Julius and Pitapushkin's findings provide a molecular and neural basis for thermosensation and mechanosensation. Recently, the medical laureates also stood for the Nobel Prize in Physiology.
The richest man in the world, Elon Musk, who aspires to save our planet and get us a new one to inhabit. He is the CEO of the aerospace company SpaceX, and he drives a car he created that uses no gas and barely needs a driver. Musk is seen as one of the personalities that has the most influence during the past year.
Meghan Markle and Prince Harry were the main character this year, as they proclaimed departure from their roles as working members of the royal family. After a year-long trial period, Buckingham Palace announced that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex officially confirmed to Her Majesty the Queen that they will not be returning as working members of the royal family.
And now, Farid, we cannot miss the chance and not talk about the German Chancellor Angela Merkel, who has left office and retired. She has been in her position for 16 years, and even she is called as the Iron Woman of Germany. What do you think about the achievements that she has achieved in these 16 years that made her such an outstanding person?
I think Angela Merkel is a great woman. This is with a great value of human woman, and she is courageous and competent person. She has agreed people from Syria, and she works for peace in the world. They built a great economy in Germany with industry, with exportation. This is the first economy in Europe. And these women speak what we think exactly, that human value give them a new future vision for the world and for the peace in the world. And I think this woman, maybe in Germany, Germany make one woman between 200 years. We can't find this woman in every country. And I think these women have stopped many things in mistakes in Germany, and I think they want to build a new generation for Germany. Maybe a new prime minister who succeed for her can continue in this way, and we hope all the success of this woman.
Cool. Thank you. Here, back to you, Hamoud Salhi from the USA. What about you? What do you think about German Chancellor Angela Merkel and her achievements?
I think she was a very successful leader. She came at a time when Germany needed a leader of her caliber, and she did very well. Making Germany the most important country in Europe, as it should be, given that the size of its membership in the European Parliament, and also its strategic look to the European Union. Merkel was also known for being a tough leader, particularly when it came to the immigration and took issue the refugees and so on and so forth. Internationally, she will still be remembered as a leader who stood up somehow to Trump and to the Americans, and made sure to protect the German interest in more ways than one. But she can be compared to Kohl, who led Germany at the same time, just after the breakup of the former Soviet Union. She put in that perspective, she brought Germany to the forefront of many issues. But like what's happening in most European countries and the US, there is a generational change. The focus on nationalism, the extremism, that sort of is a trend that Merkel would leave us with.
Cool. Now, as we have just followed in our report a bit earlier about the royal family and the Meghan Markle and her husband Prince Harry has made the headlines for a while in this year after they have resignated from their duties, their royal duties, and even they let's say are not going to use their titles anymore. Do you think is this going to reshape maybe the holiness, if you can say, of the British royal family in the coming years? What do you think, Farid?
I think so. Queen Elizabeth may calm the things between her family, between Harry and William and Meghan and others. Because I think there is a race between women of princes who take the place of Diana. Mm-hmm. And the opinion of the British, they need a new Diana in England, you know. Mm-hmm. And the Queen Elizabeth noticed things, and she wants to reach a new relation between all the princes, William and Harry. And maybe in this new year, she can make a new negotiation between them, because I think their relationship is not very good at the moment.
Oh, all right. Here, this is what Farid thinks. What about you, Hamoud? And how do you think this event has impacted the British public opinion?
Well, the British monarchy is always in the news, and they're always looking for something to sell. Mm-hmm, there is not a single day in the British newspaper that there is not a news item about the monarchy. This is part of their culture. It's what made the monarchy very successful in making itself relevant to the life and society of Britain, and doing it very well when all the monarchies in Europe were, going dying and being killed. The British monarchy learned how to adapt, and it gave a role in itself as somewhat the moral or the morality or the moral of the British society. So it is going to be with us for a long time. I think what we learned this past year is that the British monarchy missed a great opportunity to bring the British together. That the racial issues, for example, are so deep in the British monarchy, and is also so deep in the British society. Had they find a solution to the issue of the two couples by bringing them to the family and endorsing the multiculturalism of not only the British family, the royal family, but also the whole society, that could have been a major change or a major shift in the British society, sending a signal from what you could say high authority of the British society. They miss that, and what it tells us is that this traditional, long-lived monarchy will continue to be with us for quite some time, and it continue to be gearing towards supporting a dominant culture that is somewhat, from what we've seen so far, less inclusive than one would hope so. But there is a business deal out of it. This is about money, about profit. Mm-hmm. So the couples, are launching their own media, and they're doing some of the things. So it's very, very interesting, and it's part of what makes Britain a monarchy very interesting and always being followed.
Thank you, Hamoud and Farid. Let's go now for a quick break and come back right after. And after reviewing the most important personalities who have marked the year 2021, let's have a look to the top 6 people who left us this year in this report by Zahra Farjani.
Scores of notable people around the globe passed away in 2021. They came from all corners and all walks of life. South Africa's Archbishop Desmond Tutu was a champion for equality and racial justice. Tutu rose to prominence as a leader of the anti-apartheid movement. He won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1984 after working to end apartheid while giving sermons calling for non-violent action. Tutu died aged 90 in Cape Town, South Africa on December 26th. Author, professor and cultural critic Bell Hooks was a trailblazer for writing on issues such as sexism and racism in America. Some of her most notable works include Ain't I a Woman, Black Women and Feminism, and All About Love. Her writing would inspire a generation of authors, as well as her Pulitzer Prize in Poetry and the National Book Award for Fiction. Hooks died in Kentucky on December 15, aged 69. Frederick Willem de Klerk, the former president of South Africa, died of cancer at his home in Cape Town, November 11th. De Klerk, who shared the Nobel Peace Prize with Nelson Mandela, was a strong supporter of apartheid for most of his life. As president, he saw the need to forge a new path. His release of Mandela from prison and his lifting of the ban on the African National Congress made way for the dismantling of white minority rule. Former U.S. Secretary of State and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs and Staff, Colin Powell, died October 19th due to complications from COVID-19 at age 84. The four-star Army general served 4 presidents, first as Deputy National Security Advisor and then as National Security Advisor. He was the first black chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and Secretary of State. Japanese physicist Isamu Akasaki, known for pioneering energy-efficient LED lighting, a weapon against global warming and poverty, died of pneumonia on April 2nd in Japan, aged 92. Akasaki shared the Nobel Prize for Physics in 2014 for inventing blue light-emitting diodes that could be used for lighting.
Hamoud, among these personalities, the loss of Desmond Tutu is absolutely remarkable, as he's one of the few people who was fighting apartheid and racism in the world, which is still prevalent here and there. And we can remember the incident of killing Afro-Americans like George Floyd and Daunte Wright. Is America, do you think, or the American government is making enough efforts to bring the Americans together as a melting pot?
It's very, very difficult, but I should note just at the outset how Desmond Tutu was an amazing. Of the 4 people on your list are connected to him. But in terms to return to the America, I think Bell Hooks illustrates this very well, and this is what is missing in the current debate in the United States. Bell Hooks talked about the need to look at race and class. That if you are an African American, you're oppressed twice, 1 or 3 times. One by your skin and color, the second one is by your gender, being a woman, and third, you are oppressed by the class structure. So what we have seen is putting these major crimes against African Americans, portraying them as single incident, as not part of the bigger system. That there is a problem within the American system, and I think the media played a big role in this year. The reporting, the narrative, the way we see it, has always been or was always concentrating on the individual or the killing of an individual, rather than digging deep into the social structure. What we're seeing, on the other hand, is that you have a movement in 2021 against restrictions of voting, laws that were adopted by states. In addition, you have the 22 election that is coming up, with giving more guarantees for the Republican to win more seats because of the way the system is designed.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Hamoud. And we are going to tackle more world insights right after this break. As we have seen so far, a year full of events. For further insights, let's follow this presentation by Miriam Zian.
Thank you, Nadia, and welcome, dear viewers. As our host has just said, this year was full of remarkable events that we decided to highlight for the year 2021. First in our list, we start with the Capitol Hill attack, which was an unforgettable moment as pro-Donald Trump protesters stormed in the Capitol, expressing their anger over the outcome of the presidential elections as the Congress certified Joe Biden as president, making huge chaos. Moving now to Myanmar. In March, the country witnessed the deadliest day since the military seized control and left people across the country in mourning, where more than 100 people were killed by security forces, including several children. Some were tragically killed at protests and others in their own homes. And who doesn't remember the distorting video of the assassination of Haiti's president? In July, Haiti's president, Jovenel Moïse, was assassinated by armed men in his own private residence in the capital Port-au-Prince. The president was actually shot 12 times and had bullet wounds to his forehead and several to his torso. And like him, his wife, Martine Moïse, was fortunate enough to survive despite being shot. It is too rare to see mass shootings in the UK, where gun ownership is relatively low. However, back in August 2021, a man shot dead 5 people, including a 3-year-old girl, in violence that was believed began with a domestic dispute in the southern English city of Plymouth. The man ended up killing himself too, but the motive for shooting was not clear. The rampage was the worst incident in more than a decade. The huge lines in gas stations in England are not forgettable. In October, Britain faced a very challenging period as it plunged into uncertainty over gasoline and carbon dioxide shortages that prompted food production concerns and risks of inflation. But the Prime Minister Boris Johnson denied that there was a shortage and advised people to buy fuel as normal. Last but not least, the year 2021 is wrapping up. However, the world has not solved the major issue of climate change yet, despite worldly endeavors. In October, Glasgow hosted the COP26 summit that brought the world leaders together to reduce gas emissions, cut fossil fuel burning and deforestation, and keep the global temperature down to 1.5 degrees. The summit aimed at accelerating action towards the goals of the Paris Agreement and the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. That's it for me. Back to you, Nadia.
Thank you, Miriam. And just let me welcome here, Fazia Dahleb, Director of Climate Changes at Algerian Environment Ministry. Thank you so much for joining us here in our studios. As we have just seen in the presentation of Miriam, Algeria has participated in the Glasgow Summit on Climate Change this year, and the whole world is actually suffering from this major problem. Do you think that in the next new year, are we going to see the final draft or agreements of the Glasgow Summit being applied and respected by world countries, including especially industrial countries?
Thank you. So the process of the negotiation is very long process. Mm-hmm. So they implicate all the countries, all the countries, and you know the process implicates all the parties in political level and economic level. So the decision taken in these COPs it must be duplicated. Algeria must duplicate this decision at national level. This, so we must adapt our institutions and our regulation, our legislation for this decision. Right. So we can't applicate this decision now. All right. So this is a long process. We must adapt our institution, and you know, Algeria is situated in the region with very vulnerable to the climate change.
What do you think about the world countries, the most industrial countries? Are they going to respect what has been drafted in these agreements?
No, they must assist the countries in economy in transition to apply the decision. So they come at the COP with no money. So it's difficult.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Fazia. And coming up next, a little bit away from the world of politics and tensions around the world, we will delve into some fun news right after this break. After all, the year 2021 was not this bad, and being under lockdown most of the year, lots of fun was needed, and through movies and even video games. Let's follow this report as prepared by Sofiane Kintouri. Pretty cool. And now we go to some football 2021 roundup, including La Liga, Copa America, and of course, Algerian national football team in this report by Abderrahim Kashour. And here, as checking our watches, only a few seconds separate us from the new year. And let's have, along with my guests, a countdown together as it appears on our screens here. All right. 2, 1. Okay, here we go. It's a whole new year. We are in 2022, and here we come to an end. Special thanks and Happy New Year to my guests here, Fazia, in addition to Farid and Hamoud. Any words before we wrap up?
I hope Happy New Year for all Algerian people and for the world. I wish the total experiences of the pandemic in the world, and I hope to reach very happiness, progress, and health for humanity and peace for all the people in the world. Thank
you so much, Farid. Thank you for being with us. Just a couple of words, Fazia, if you don't mind. Yeah.
Happy New Year for all the Algerian people in the world with very good health.
Thank you.
What
about yourself, Hamoud? Happy New Year. Best wishes only to come for the new year.
Well, hopefully we'll get to visit Algeria, but I really, I'm so honored to be on the program. Plenty of success for your station. Your team and yourself are doing a fantastic job. It's
Thank you so much, Hamoud, to all of my guests who has accompanied me during this show. And special thanks as well for the amazing team that worked hard to make this special show a success, including the technical stuff. And Happy New Year. I'm Saeed et bon année. Hope in the year 22 will bring only a year of recovery from the overwhelming pandemic. Thank you so much for following us on Al 24 News. Bye-bye for now.